Nike's results are out and shares are up about 2% in after hours. We've updated our earnings model for this current quarter's results, and we've also input management's new guidance for the next quarter and the full fiscal year 2016. And we're going to compare the results here in tonight's earnings model on the right-hand side of the screen to what we had in our earnings model just prior to the release on the left-hand side of the screen. And we're going to see if that price move makes sense. Now, the most important part of the release was the guidance that management gave for the full fiscal year. And on the left-hand side here, we have the transcript. This is still unofficial. They haven't posted the final results, but this is correct. If you listen into the call, this is the guidance that they gave. So let's take a look at where the guidance stands relative to what the consensus estimate was and if there is any changes from management. So starting with revenue, for the third quarter, they expect a high single-digit to low double-digit growth rate. So we've now updated the revenue for the third fiscal quarter, and you can see that our growth rate is at 6%, so within that range. But prior to the release, the consensus estimate was 8.1 billion, and now getting to a 6% growth rate, we fall short of that at 7.9. And then for the full year, our consensus-based model was 32.8. We brought it down just a bit, 32.3. So the one thing here to note is that management didn't actually change their full year guidance for revenue, which is the next section here, highlighted in green. So they said that they continue to expect revenue growth will be mid-single digits. So we set it at 5.6% growth, but the consensus was at about about 7% growth. So consensus estimates, now that they have another quarter of visibility, analysts might bring their revenue growth rates down just a bit to get closer to what management's full year guidance is. Next, if we scroll down to gross margin, they expect Q3 to be down about 50 basis points. So this is one thing that analysts will likely have to adjust their models for, that's slightly lower profitability. But they reaffirm their full year gross margin guidance at 50 basis points, at up 50 basis points. So you can see in our model that we have it set for 50 basis points of growth. So that's at the bottom of the segment section right here. Then we can move down to SG&A. So they expect growth of low to mid-teen range. So we have it at 12.2%. So we're slightly ahead of where management has guided for the third quarter. But for the full year, we have it right in line, so high single digits. And we could actually be a little conservative on this measure here. So when analysts update their estimates tonight, you might see bit more aggressive on the SG&A line. Then they also guided other income to about 30 million for each of the next 2 quarters, and that is down from 50 million, which was the previous guidance. But the effective tax rate is also down, so they guided to 20% this quarter, and prior to this call, they were at about 22% for the full year. So again, below the segment details, you can see that we put 22% for the next 2 quarters, which gives us a full year tax rate of 20%. So after we plug all that guidance into our earnings model, you can see that our EPS has actually come down from what we had prior to the release. So before we were expecting $4.28 per share for the full year, and now we're expecting $4.07. Overall, not a huge percentage move in EPS, and the new valuation also reflects that. So we now estimate $129.50 a share versus $131.50 prior to today's release. But keep in mind that they did have a very strong quarter, and so analysts might want to be a little bit more ahead of the guidance that management gave tonight. So we wouldn't be surprised if we see some increases in estimates tomorrow. And that's probably why shares are up by about 2% rather than down slightly. If you'd like to download this model and plug in your own estimates, it's available for free on our website, gutenbergresearch.com. Click on the free models tab and you'll have access to Nike and any other companies that you're interested in. And if you're new to our modeling approach, be sure to download our modeling approach document from the homepage, also for free. And check back in a few days after the analysts have updated their estimates for Nike. We'll recalibrate our model to meet those consensus. If you're interested in financial modeling, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.